Everest. And the Kenyan government was told, pay 8 million and the body will transport it back. Up to now, that young man's body is still on top of Mount Everest. I forgot to mention his name.
Let me actually, I'm gonna dig into that as well. Go ahead, bro.
So this is not. This diplomacy has taken care of everything. Diplomacy has really put key issues. Everything is really been put in place. So if indeed William Ruto would have been very sympathetic about this with his PS, with his Minister for Foreign Affairs, they would have even done a kind of a shuttle diplomacy, sending a private jet there. They would have said, hand over the prisoner to us. I know the laws are very harsh and everything, but still, Chinese, if you are found on drug smuggling and corruption, you are hung to death in China before even trial. And still, China, they do have a lot of concessions as far as this is concerned. So all I will say, Brother Vu, this is something the Kenyan government can intervene and do. And I'm telling you, even if there is no prisoner, even if there is no Vietnamese prisoner, the Kenyan-Vietnamese relation exists, and that is why Kenya has an embassy in Vietnam. That proves it. So
you've mentioned about as you continue, you've mentioned about the Kenyan who died on top of Mount Everest. Let me actually give the viewers input into that. Joshua Cheruiyot Kirui, a 40-year-old Kenyan mountaineer and banker with Kenya Commercial Bank, tragically lost his life on May 23rd, 2024, during an attempt to summit Mount Everest without supplemental oxygen. So that was his name.
That was the guy. Up to now, his body is on the summit. He's in Mount Everest. His body. Up to now, his body has not been returned. And you know, some countries like South Africa, they say, South Africa, they are so good with diplomacy. They say if one of our citizens is in a deep shit, first of all, let's bring that citizen home. Then we shall get to figure out from there. Because they are saving themselves from international bad imaging and tarnishing. What makes a country respected internationally is the use of its soft power image. Kenya is not just a country like Burundi. Our marathoners are known. We are a tech hub in Africa. We are a regional. Kenya is a regional diplomatic hub with 70% of United Nations offices in our country. We are not just any country. We are respected globally for what we say. Okay.
And yet, Amarange, that's exactly what we're talking. We're talking about the challenges that we have. You know, because Vietnam has no bilateral agreement with Kenya. We don't, and those are the hurdles that they're facing. So everything that is being negotiated through Bangkok. Okay. Now, the fact that we don't have any bilateral agreement with Vietnam also makes it difficult when it comes to the issue of prisoner swipe or the prisoner transfer from now taking Nduta from Vietnam back to Nairobi. Those are the hurdles that we are facing right now. We don't have any trade, any trade agreement with Vietnam. So all these things, all these are key factors. But regardless, go ahead, Guido.
So there is an intervention to that, even if you don't have embassy or any kind of things like that. I will give you a good example of how some countries relate. As we are currently speaking, the only Taiwan embassy in Africa is in Somaliland, Hargeisa. Taiwan, Taipei.
Okay.
And when students apply for jobs and everything, they usually send it from Kenyan embassy to Hargeisa, Somaliland, and from there you can communicate with Taipei, Taiwan. So even if there is no trade relation or something like that, there is always a channel, and this channel has been used for quite a while. I will give you an example of one of these channels which was used during the ISIL war in Syria. Most of the Germans, some German people were found between crossfires in the war of Mosul. So they did not have any kind of an escape plan or something like that, but they reached out to the ally in the region to help them. That is why today, if America wants to have any kind of political or economic interest in the region, they reached out to Israel, they reached out to Turkey. Okay?
There's always a plan B and a plan C, even though we don't have any bilateral agreements with these countries.
Exactly.
That they can come to a consensus, they can come to a compromise and see how to handle this issue. Let me welcome someone came here, Live 34 Oh my God, this
Yeah.
is just too long. My sister, open your camera, my sister. You know, I'm so
No,
scared.
no,
Listen,
I'm not.
you know, we have a principle at Vote TV, Live for Life. The thing is, at Vote TV, I always say, if you come up here and you want to have a discussion, I want to see your face, because this TikTok is so toxic, and we've realized that people, they hide behind these profile pictures to hide their face. So if you want to come and engage in a conversation, it's a golden rule. Thank you very much.
Okay, I wouldn't be able to do that, but thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay. So let me continue with my brother again, please.
So,
Like, even if you're not prepared to come here and open your camera and talk and have a conversation, please don't waste our time. You can just sit down there and engage. Continue, Dido.
so my brother, like, Kenya has a very huge trade relation with Indonesia. Actually, we have an embassy there in Indonesia. I think we also do have an embassy in Philippines. We do have an embassy, and actually one of the Kenya's largest trading partners in South Asia and Asia is China. China has a very credible relations and consular and trade agreements with Vietnam. So if today William Ruto will just call President Xi Jinping,
and China is major. And China is major. That's right. I agree. And China is major, right? Thank you. Actually, I didn't even look at it.
Exactly. So if Kenya is the largest borrower of the Chinese loans and bonds and everything. If today President Ruto will call Xi Jinping and tell him,
China owns Kenya economically.
Yeah, exactly. So if he tells him, hey, we have a diplomatic hitch, we have a small diplomatic issue, Premier Xi Jinping, can you call your counterpart from Vietnam and we solve the issue? I'm telling you, if the second most economic superpower in the world calls Vietnam, we have a lot of things to solve. We have a lot of things to talk about. Just release Nduta, then we take care of our things. And that is it.
That's right.
People should understand. People should understand what it means to have shadow diplomacy. Shadow diplomacy is a kind of a channel that every president and every statesman in this country, they have a direct communication with each other. That is something that has been established there. Yes. It exists.
Are we looking? Now, let me. I was actually doing my investigation into how many people are executed in Vietnam on a daily basis because of the same crime that Nduta is being accused of, and it's not just being accused of. Galma, have you seen the video where Nduta was arrested?
No, I've not seen it.
Okay, just please, if you guys want to see the video, join the Vote TV Telegram group. You'll see it. I'm sharing everything in the Telegram group because, of course, you cannot share these videos on social media. Okay, the only place you can share these videos is Twitter, but you can't post those videos on TikTok or in other social media. Now, let me put it like this, respectfully. It's a lot of powder. Ni unga mingi sana. It's 2 kgs. Ni kilo mbili. I mean, like, it's like, imagine you going to umena dukani, okay? Umena kununua unga ugali. It's 2 kgs. That's exactly what Nduta alikuwa amebeba. It's a lot, bro. So, I'm looking at this thing from two perspectives, and we've actually really dissected this story here at Vote TV in a very, very logical way. Worst case scenario, Vietnam says, you know what? This is our business. She was arrested in Vietnam. This is what the law says. And she must face the punishment. Mm-hmm. By the way, you know, number two, something else I wanna bring into I wanna talk about on this panel. I watched a couple of testimonies from people who traveled to Vietnam, and they said the moment you get to Vietnam, it's not like any other countries where they say, hey, like now if it's in Kenya, oh, Karibu Kenya, whatever, welcome to Kenya. In Vietnam, once you get to Vietnam, you know what they tell you? They tell you, look here, bro. In Vietnam, madaza kulevya chana nazo. They start teaching you immediately about the dangers of engaging in any madaya kulevya business. And I'm saying madaya kulevya because of TikTok. So, if you watch the video of Nduta, when she was arrested, it makes you ask one question. How was she carrying all these unga bila kujua.
Yeah, I get your point, Vu. You are very right.
You see, but then you know what, Galma? I say no. But then me, the way I look at cases, I said, you know what? That's not for me to explain. That's not for me to talk about. Nobody has listened to Nduta's voice. Nduta hasn't spoken.
She doesn't have a fair trial. That is the word.
Nduta hasn't spoken. Do you know actually what's crazy? Even as a prisoner, how comes the Vietnam government never gave her an opportunity to actually even say something on camera? They have the press. They haven't interviewed her. Listen, or maybe I could be wrong. Have we seen any video of Nduta talking apart from these pictures that we have? Because like now these are. Let me make this thumbnail bigger. Number one, okay, you see, the image in the image in that circle is when she was arrested, and the other image is when she was in court. Have we seen? Have we seen any video of Nduta talking? I don't think so.
Yeah. You know, Vu. This is a very difficult case also, and one question I ask myself is, yes, the Vietnamese customs, they arrested her there. So a big question is even how that consignment left JKIA or wherever she was coming from.
Oh, that's another story. Oh, Dido, it's been a lot of, I mean, you know, this social media is full of bullshit. But there's these things about she traveled to Ethiopia with a bus, and then from there was she was given a hand luggage. She was given the consignment. It's a lot of shenanigans, bro.
Yeah. So I will say.
Then there's the other. Then they're saying the person who was in charge of all this shit is a guy called John, and she was supposed to be paid 167,000 shillings if she delivers the powder successfully.
You know, Vu, it's very painful, and it's not in any way actually I even critique the Vietnamese government. I don't have any reason to critique them. They are very tough on their laws and everything. But
that's right.
You know, if there is an intervention that maybe I should ask for, she should be given a fair, free and fair trial. She should have a credible, fair trial. And this is a very complex case. She's not a drugs dealer. She's somebody she's just somebody who transported, whether she knows it knowingly or unknowingly. And the best maybe the Kenyan government can do for her is to maybe commute her death or hung to death sentence, and she should be maybe have a life imprisonment or something like that, a kind of an intervention or something like that. Because at the end of the day, Vu, these countries do relate on many levels. These two countries have a lot of, every country that even doesn't have an embassy, they do relate on any levels. But the question that Nduta brought is, how safe are Kenyan citizens in diaspora? Do we
Dido, actually, as we continue, let me tell you something, because some people are coming in late. You see, like now, and this is what we're calling about the fact that you can actually spill verbal diarrhea on this TikTok or social media, and people believe it. Look at that comment from Amorange, who's saying, Rich Kamunge and Lillian know who John is. Like, you motherfuckers are so dumb that you just buy anything that people post on this social media for clickbait. Okay? So you see already all these fake theories, because what goes viral is also a virus. People like this are believing it. Oh, yeah, Rich Kamunge was involved, and they know who John is. Continue, Dido.
So I will say Kenya has done a lot when it comes to protecting the images of other citizens. We've done it with Akasha brothers. We've done it with Artur Magarian, Artur Sagarsian brothers. We've done it with Njoroge's case for Kenya Power and Lighting Company. There was a time the American government arrested 5 or 4 Somalis who were accused of misusing COVID money in US, and they were extradited to America. I think you remember it was some kind of a last year when FBI just stormed some of these buildings in South B and South C, and they were put on a private jet directly. Some of them were arrested katikati ya barabara wakielekea wakielekea America. So I will say the big question I will always ask Vu is, do we have a credible foreign policy as a country? If the foreign policy is not working for people, and this case for Nduta is a reflection of how our government have been handling its citizens in Saudi Arabia, our women being alive there, returning back in caskets, and at the end of the day, there is no accountability. I'm telling you, if today Vu, an American citizen, will be unalived in Saudi Arabia, there will be consequences. There will be repercussions. Things will not go easy like that. Even in other
talk about Saudi. Talk about Saudi, Dido. Because I want to make sure that we don't forget. I'm gonna connect these stories at the same time, because those are the two topics today that I wanted us to touch on. Today in the morning, I received a phone call. You guys remember this lady? Let's actually talk about Saudi.
Yeah.
You remember this lady here? Hold up. Let me show them here. Okay. This is a Kisi lady by the name Cynthia Kerubo. Cynthia Kerubo died in Saudi Arabia a month ago. Na walisema ya kwamba alipatikana kwa bafu kama amejinyonga. Allow me to say this. It's 1 month. There is no proof. There is no investigation. There is no police report. There is no medical report. They said alipatikana kwa bafu kama amejinyonga. And let me tell you something, my fellow sisters, my dear queens in Gulf. This morning, I received a phone call that Cynthia Kerubo will be returned to Kenya on Thursday. Mwili wa Cynthia Kerubo unarudishwa Kenya Thursday. Let that sink in.
Yeah. So
continue.
So Vu, the question I will always ask is, countries are very mean. Countries are very stingy when it comes to protecting their own citizens. Are the Kenyan government doing the same for its citizens? And for heaven's sake, the Kenyans in diaspora are the largest remitters of foreign money and foreign funding and foreign remittances and revenues.
That's right.
They remit billions annually back home. So the question I ask is, if this embassy, the reason why embassies are established is for the Kenyans abroad, is for the Kenyans in diaspora. If the embassies and the consulates are not working for the people, then whom are they working for? That is the question.
We should go for actually what they should do. I've always said this for the last couple of years. I've said, you know what they should do? We can actually, if these embassies and these offices are not working for the people, we might as well just shut these offices and let these people go back home. And then we can actually say it's better we have these countries with no Kenyan embassies instead of having just buildings. So what we literally have are buildings with people in there. Don't you guys agree?
Yeah. You remember Vu, the Westgate attack. Two or three Israeli officials were in that building. 3 or 2 Israeli citizens were investigated.
Yes.
Israel did not even waste 1 hour. They sent Mossad, not because of saving Kenyans, but to save their fellow Israelis in Westgate.
That's right. They
sent special forces, not because of 10 or 15, 2 Israelis in that Westgate attack.
That's right.
That is how countries value their people and value their citizens.
That's right. You guys remember?
Yeah, we are.
You guys remember? And now here we are with Nduta's case.
So people should not come here and tell us BS or bullshit that Kenya cannot do anything here. If indeed Artur Magarian and Artur Sagarsian were convicted of drug smuggling in this country, the Armenian brothers, evidence ilikuwa kila mahali. But the Armenian government, with all the embarrassment and shame, still had the audacity of telling Kenyans, hand over these people to us. And the Kenyan government did. They did. Artur Magarian and Artur Sagarsian, you guys remember, wakati wa Kibaki, they are in Armenia now. Okay? So,
if Galma, sheesh. If Kenyans had not spoken on social media,
This will be
Nduta would have
gone.
been unalived. Nduta would
That
have
is
been
it.
gone
Yeah,
yesterday.
you've said it. That is it. Yeah, you've said it. That is the word. The
They
reason
even
why
had
all
three.
this, yeah,
Mm.
the
Go
reason
ahead,
why
go ahead.
all these voices and everything has been brought to online. Actually, Kenyans on TikTok, we are doing a job that we are not supposed to do. What Vu is doing is the job of Kenyan embassy in Thailand. It's not his job. Vu anafanya volunteering ya kazi ya embassy ya Kenya. Hizi kazi yetu tunafaa kufanya. Hii ni kazi ya diplomats, envoys, ambassadors. This is how failed our system is. Yaani raia ndo wanafanya kazi ambayo watu wengine wanalipwa kufanya, representing Kenya in another country. That is how failed are we. That is how we are failed.
I mean, I have to give credit. I mean, like, I thought about it. I was actually thinking about this last night. If Kenyans never joined hands on this TikTok and they started screaming about Nduta, Nduta would have been unalived yesterday. I mean, can we let that sink in? So the question is, talk about the Westgate attack. Life is so spiritual. One of my brothers, who's a long member of OTV, he came here to give his testimony. Idi Amin is here. Idi Amin was at the Westgate when Westgate was attacked. He's here. Comment right there, my brother. And the reason why Idi Amin is here, because I remember your testimony on VoTV, is because you are supposed to work on that day, right? And then your shift was at night. You are actually preparing for your shift the day the Westgate was attacked. Just touching on that. So there you go. Idi Amin is down there. Has Musalia Mudavadi spoken? No.
No.
Has Ruto spoken? Said a word?
No.
Apart from now being busy out there handing out chapatis? No. Has Wilfred Mutua spoken? Has Alfred Mutua spoken? No.
Do you know? I think there are prisoners, Vietnamese prisoners in Kenya, because I remember a case of some Vietnamese and some people who are arrested because of illegal elephant ivory poaching in this country, and they were arrested at the airport. I think there is a story like that. I read it somewhere. Yes, I'm telling you, there is something. What I'm saying is, and I will be honest as far as this is concerned. The Kenyan Ministry of Foreign Affairs, I think they are allocated, I don't check the number, but they receive billions in funding when it comes to allocation to these embassies. Somebody to check up. I think there was some Vietnamese who was arrested with Pembes and Dovu at the Kenyan airport. Something like that.
Is someone saying in the comment section that I saw Ruto's daughter said she spoke to her dad about Nduta? Why does the daughter have to speak to him about Nduta like some shit? She's all over social media. Like, it's even his government knows, bro. Like, let me drink some water. From what I'm checking from my data, let me go through the facts, because I was also doing some research on that. They say, as of the latest available information, there are no significant or publicly reported cases of Vietnamese prisoners currently incarcerated in Kenyan prisons. However, this topic involves a variety of legal, diplomatic, and prison factors that can influence whether such cases are more widespread or largely unreported. So we are not officially saying that we don't have Vietnamese prisoners in Kenya.
Exactly. This is more of a hidden issue. And they've always been a prisoner exchange. These countries have always been doing this. There are people who have been found on a far much grievance cases, even murder, leave alone even these cases of drug abuse, murder. There have
That's
been
right.
people who are found on these grievance cases, and still their countries always believe the first approach is to save our country's image. The next is to prosecute that person in our country. This is what a good number of countries believe in. You know, this some of the best countries in Africa, like Botswana, South Africa, Ghana, Egypt, Morocco, Algeria. This is what they do. I remember of a case of an Algerian official who was convicted of some drug cases, I think in France or something like that, and they always have this mechanism of prosecuting and extraditing these kind of engagement. As we are currently speaking with the case of Donald Trump, he is transporting deadly prisoners from America to El Salvador.
To
because
El
he's saying-
Salvador.
yeah, El Salvador.
Yes, by the way, which is right now, like here in America, that shit is all over the news because he invoked the Aliens Act. I mean, bro, like if we come to American politics right now, it's like a full shit show, bro. Like I mean, me being actually even in America right now, I don't even like give like two fucks right now because it's so much happening and it's so much going on. But I get what you know.
Yeah, so
He took them, although the federal judge had said they should not be taken to El Salvador. So that's now the biggest topic in America right now.
So one arrangement Kenya can do, even if Nduta is prosecuted and convicted and everything, she can serve a jail term in Kenya. That is an arrangement they can always do. They'll tell, okay, fine, you've prosecuted everything to do with her. How about she be close to her family members at least who don't have to buy expensive plane tickets or everything like that to go to Vietnam. Her family can visit her here in Kenya in committee. That is an arrangement the countries will always agree and do. That is what they will always do. You know, that is what they do.
Dilo, can we give, man, we have a lot of information to digest today. And by the way, you're getting it straight from the source. Let's look at this. Have we had any other African nationals who have been executed in Vietnam? Do you guys know that? Let me give you a quick update. In 2018, Kotsi Tyrone Lee, a South African man, was sentenced to death by a court in Vietnam after he was found guilty of trafficking nearly 1.5 kilos of unga from Brazil to Vietnam. Okay, now it's a long statement, but let me read the closing remarks of this. Despite efforts by the South African government and various international organizations to appeal for clemency, his sentence was carried out.
What I will always say is, fine, this might happen, but this Nduta's case has brought a big discussion on what Kenyan envoys and foreign policies and foreign officers are doing abroad. Her case will not die in vain. She has brought what used to be the tip of an iceberg when it comes to Kenyan foreign policy abroad. Yes.
I agree, absolutely. Look, if this person had 1.5 kgs, Nduta had more.
And that is South Africa.
Kgs. And that's South Africa.
And South Africa is powerful.
And South Africa is more powerful than Kenya. Fuck.
Yeah. This is serious, man. Mm-hmm.
It's fucking serious.
But the question is, man, the question is, okay, fine. Nduta, let's even like whatever has happened. Nduta's case has been culmination of what has been happening in Gulf countries. No, Sai Leo, if one member of parliament, Akiba Pesa, our gluttonous members of parliament will be like, let's create commission of inquiry. Let's create commission of investigation. Has there been any commission of inquiry created by the Committee for Foreign Affairs in Kenyan Embassy, Kenyan Parliament, for the Kenyans who have died in Gulf?
No. And you're talking to someone who has, and you're talking to someone who's I have a petition in the parliament. My petition to protect every Kadama in the parliament, in Gulf, is in the parliament. And the answer is none.
We are so much obsessed with creating commission of inquiry. Today, with these cases of abuse, raping, death, and non-disappearances, has there been any special benchmarking mission, DCI, Interpol, Kenyan mission abroad in Gulf, have an agreement for the people who did this to be tried in Saudi courts for what they
No,
did to Kenyans. Because they did
no,
not do that to animals, they did it to sovereign citizens of Kenya. No.
no, no. Actually, as a matter of fact, in celebrating 10 years of VoTV, not one single Arab has ever been arrested or convicted in court for those crimes. Modern slavery. They
And
have the
we
license
have
to kill, they have the license to grape, and we have a government.
And how many Saudi officials and UAE officials smuggling illegal gold from Congo using Kenyan ports to Dubai? A lot. A lot. A lot. We've never, they don't take care about us. We've never questioned what these guys do. I know of
No,
many gluttonous sheikhs and officials who are based in Nairobi, who are smuggling Congo's gold through Kenya and then they take it to Dubai. We've never held them accountable. We've never held them accountable. How many vehicles that are transported in form of Toyotas and these second-hand used vehicles that are low quality, that are transported, are imported from Dubai, that we've rejected from Saudi? None. We don't even compromise in that. We don't. How many basmati rice? How many basmati rice and foreign illegal sugars and illegal basmati rice that comes from the Gulf getting into our country illegally, competing with Kenyan local products that we've even imposed the sanction? None of it.
none.
But still, we failed. We failed in protecting the lives of innocent Kenyans abroad, especially in Gulf. That is the state of our foreign policy.
Humanity, the issue of humanity in Kenya is something that is just usually thrown under the rug. That's why, for example, like someone can just be killed, put in the coffin in Gulf, taken back home, and that's the end of the story. Allow me, actually, let me play because this is gonna give you body chills. Let's go back to now, because we are piggy banking between Nduta and the story of Cynthia Kirubo. Imagine you're in Kenya. You wake up in the morning and you're told your sister or your daughter has died in Saudi Arabia na ati amejinyonga. There is no picture, there is no image, there's no police report, there is nothing. No investigation report. Unaambiwa tu alijinyonga. And then you just get this phone call telling you this.
Hi.
Yeah,
You're aware?
yeah.
Are you Mercy?
I'm
Or
Mercy.
Bridget?
I'm Mercy.
You're Mercy. Okay, we've been given Vincent, Mercy, and Bridget to call.
Yeah,
So I can speak to you?
yeah.
You can pass the message to Vincent and Bridget. I'm calling you from Emirates Cargo.
Okay.
My name is Penina.
Yes.
They've told us we'll let you know that the human remains is arriving in Nairobi on 20th.
Okay.
That will be on Thursday. Thursday at 7:30 p.m.
I mean, I just want you to hold on there. It's been a month. The husband is crying to me every day.
You know the thing, Vu, with
And
that
the
voice.
only phone call that they could give the family, did you hear that? Is that we are calling from Emirates Cargo. And the human remains of Cynthia Kirubo will be transported on Thursday. Back to you.
You know, Vu, the Kenyan government had no humanity even of giving a call to the family of this girl. It took a private entity to inform them. That is how.
It took
that is how-
VoTV. It took VoTV to blow whistles about this case.
Yes. The Kenyan government, even like, they could not even write a letter, explaining anything. They can't do that to the families and everything. They don't. And mind you, today, I will give you an example of Botswana and South Africa. Any national who dies abroad, the embassy of South Africa in US or even other countries, they would be told, draft a well-detailed report explaining how this citizen died in this country. The ambassador is given that role. He's told explain the events that led to the death of this person in this country. You remember that case of a South African lady who was left by her husband, who was beaten. I think it was in Bulgaria or something like that. A South African woman. You remember?
What happened in Bulgaria?
I think it was in one of these countries in Europe. So alienda akaoa somebody from Europe, and then she was abused, alikuwa na gender-based violence and everything. The South African embassy in that country in Europe, they called the lady and told her, you will no longer suffer. Come, we give you ticket, we send you back home, we deal with the case, and we shall follow it up for you on your behalf.
Which reminds me, again, because VOTV have done tens of thousands of interviews, reminds me about 2 years ago, 3 years ago, if you remember, I hosted the mother of Janet Achieng, the lady who was found dead in Albania. Her body was thrown from the 3rd floor. You guys remember that story? And
Yep.
I'm the one who broke that story, and I had the mother, and the mother was here. The mother had to fly from Kenya to Albania, and there were questions about how she died, because they said she left work after midnight, got home. Someone took her home. She got home. She called the mother. That was the last call. She was found dead. Marsh, you remember, right? Marsh, I would always pinpoint at Marsh because Marsh has
Yeah,
been
I
with
remember.
us
I
for-
recall that
and
information.
and do you know that there was no, listen, that story just ended like that. No one was arrested.
You know, Vu. And mind you, that was a gender-based violence case the South Africans were handling for that poor woman in a Europe country. That is violation of her right. And she was told, report back to the embassy, we give you the tickets and everything, and we shall take care of your kids, put them in good custody, and when you come to the court, I think in one of those countries, Romania, we shall foot the fees for you to take that man to court. That is what an embassy can do for its people abroad. The other day, some poor Tanzanian Italian guy who was abandoned and he was dragged and everything was found, I think, in Tanzania. And he was taken to the Italian embassy, and they said, we are going to take care of everything and send the man back home and discuss on everything. This is the work of embassy. The work of embassy is not just to walk around and just moving in diplomatic vehicles, moving in expensive diplomatic vehicles and flags and diplomatic
And be
immunity.
proud about the diplomatic immunity, that we are untouchable.
Yeah, they are untouchable because nobody is going to touch their bags. That is the sad reality, Vu.
So in other words, we can say we are fucked. As this issue of Nduta is all over the place, I was actually, like I said, that's why I was even asking these questions. Has Musalia Mudavadi given any statement? No. Has he spoken as the head of his office? No. And yet, if you look at their platform, just go to their pages right now, especially on Twitter. Right now, they are busy entertaining the royal family from the Netherlands. When we have a Kenya who's facing death in Vietnam. That is what, have you guys seen that? Right now, it's all about the royal family from the Netherlands. That's the story. You'd have expected that the government would put everything on the side and blow whistles and make Nduta the main subject. Because when you rescue one Kenyan, you've rescued the entire nation. How many times do we have to remind ourselves that the government has failed us? How many times? How many times do we have to remind ourselves that we are on our own? How many times?
Do you know, Vu, the other day I went to the Kenyan embassy in Berlin as a student. Because I'm doing my master's here in Germany.
Yeah.
Vu, I just went there kusalimia. Like, I just wanted to know what's happening with our embassy.
Yeah.
Vu, I stood there for more than 5 hours for them to verify, for them to check. And I'm not there to ask for any help. I'm just like, hey, I'm a patriotic Kenyan. I want to know how my taxpayer is being utilized in this country through this embassy. Nothing else.
If I start talking about the embassy in Berlin, that's going to be a long story.
Yep. So, Vu, it's high time we ask ourselves, these billions of money that we take from public taxpayers' money, is the foreign affairs offices really working for Kenyans, or they are just representation of Kenya's oligarch interest abroad? Honestly speaking,
Wow.
yes, that is the high time. Because
I see
Leo,
that comment by Abdi saying these agents companies must be sued, and Kenya doesn't have embassies but business offices. That's a statement in the comment section, by the way. I had to read that out.
these are business offices, and I'm telling you, all of these embassies abroad, it's like a family entity. The ambassador brings his cousin to be the secretary. He brings his uncle to be the accountant. He brings his daughter's son to be the secretary. That is how they do, by the way. That if you really want to know the pattern of our foreign embassies, mutaona hizo vitu, they are very clear. All of them are related. It's like an extended family tree, but in diaspora. That is what they do.
The statement that we don't have embassies in the diaspora, that these are business offices, man, that hits different. Rose Onini, alafu wanafanya party kila mwaka.
Ni kama uende vita Vu, na unajua, ni kama uende vita na unajua you are getting into the battlefield blind,
with no armor,
hauna protection vest, hauna zile rays, hauna armor. It's like you are on the last magazine of your bullet, and still you are heading into the battlefield with no one to back you up. All the battalions are finished. You are the only person. That is the case for the Kenyan embassies abroad. Kenyans, we feel because of this flag that we feel kind of like, everybody respects us and everything. They do. International community, they respect Kenyans. But the people whom we thought are the ones to protect us, they don't give a fuck about us. Yeah.
So we are fucked.
We are messed up. We are messed up.
Abdi is saying, exactly, bro. You can't get the services as a patriotic Kenya. Ni lazima uwe na godfathers. If it took you 5 hours just to be attended to in Berlin, then what do you think about then a place like Saudi Arabia?
Do you know what Americans do with their foreign affairs office? Actually, Donald Trump has no political power in appointing ambassadors. There are two types of ambassadors in America. There is the political appointment, and then there is bureaucratic. Those people who rose through the rank, they are not either Democrats or they are Republicans. Robert Godek, the former Kenyan American ambassador to Kenya, was a bureaucrat. That guy, even Trump came, Obama came. Nobody has the right to fire him. That's is a fully competent person there. In Kenya, the likes of Robinson, Gidea, and Kimani, they were just recalled immediately. Ruto gained power because they were installed there by Uhuru. So all our appointments are political. Nobody there is there to serve the patriotic interest of Kenya. Country kama USA wamesema, no matter how interest and political tuko nayo, vitu za foreign affairs, wacha tupe wazalendo. Tusiweke siasa. That's what they say.
That's a very nice point. You're right.
That is why FBI
and they don't intervene, and that's a whole department on its own.
Like kama FBI wakienda kushika mtu or anybody, they don't care whether you are a Republican or Democrat. They are there to protect the flags of United States.
That's right. Let me also say, like, I was about to make that to reply to what one of our brothers said. Brother Abdi said in the comment section. Look, these agents will never be sued by anybody. My friend, the government officials, they own agencies in Kenya, so how do you expect them to sue? Let's just be realistic. You see, the good thing, the thing, we're looking at facts. We're looking at facts right here. Okay? We're looking at facts. So don't expect anybody to sue. And even in Nduta's story, who is this John guy? Who is John? They keep on talking about like the John guy who gave her the powder. Who is this John guy? Do we have his full identity? Where is he from? So still, there are so many loopholes in the Nduta story. And that's why we're saying at the end of the day, I do pray and hope that Nduta will get the chance and opportunity to tell her own side of the story in her own words, and not just all these speculations that are going on this social media, because social media is toxic, bro. And I give a perfect example. I said, look, yesterday on Twitter, all of a sudden someone said, hey, Nduta has been executed. And people believed it. And people believed it. Can you imagine? So bad that they were actually posting RIP posters on Twitter. Now imagine as a family member. Imagine if a member of the family just woke up and went on Twitter and seeing posters on Joki that she has been executed. This is so sad. But at the end of the day, it's also sad. Listen, can I say something, bro? The Kenyan government did not react the way it's supposed to react. I'm not seeing any public effort. There should have been a statement from the office of the president. There should have been an official statement by Musalia Mudavadi. There should have been an official statement by the Ministry of Labor. There should have been an official statement by Honorable Rosalind Jogu, who's the head of the the Department of Diaspora Affairs. But guess what? Right now, that's not something which is of interest to them. It's about welcoming the loyal family from the Netherlands.
Yeah.
I mean, my fellow Kenyans, how do you feel about this?
That is the reality. Yeah. And usually what one of the embassies do also, like the embassies in UK and Europe, they usually give foreign advisories to their citizens who are traveling to other countries. Tell me one kind of advisory or emergency kind of guideline or a kind of a memo usually these embassies abroad usually give to the citizens in Saudi. Tell me one mechanism if a lady gets into a problem of, if a lady gets into a problem with her employer, the kadama and everything. Tell me one mechanism where they can call a toll-free number, they can reach out to one of the volunteers and field agents of the embassy who can come, assess the situation, reach out to partners, escalate the issue from a national level to an international level back with the Kenyan embassy. There is no mechanism. So the only mechanism Kenyans have abroad is TikTok. So if there was no TikTok, then we would have been dead long time ago.
That's true. And that's why, like, everybody who just, again, I repeat, we're celebrating 10 years of OTV, and for them, their office, listen, Brother Dido, it's so bad that I even have right now in my fucking inbox people who left Kenya 1 week ago, Kadamas, coming to VoTV asking for help.
Yep.
1 week. And actually talk about that because I've seen it and I've seen it all. There's something I want to share with my fellow sisters, especially the new ones who are going to this place called God. So yesterday, someone reached out to me early in the morning. And she told me that she left Kenya 1 month ago and went to Lebanon. And when she went to Lebanon, according to this lady, she sent me a picture that she had been badly beaten. And first of all, I'm going to show you the picture that I'm talking about. This picture right here. Akaniambia alichapwa vibaya sana na mwajiri wake. Now, the first thing what I did, when I received that picture, I was very, very angry. Ukiangalia hiyo picture, you'll believe the story at first sight. Ladies and gentlemen, wacha nitoe, then I'll talk. hiyo picha umeona hapo is a filter. Alitumia picha ya Snapchat to claim amepigwa na boss wake. Let me come back here again. Hapa. Ini filter dido. People forget that we have tools that can analyze a picture.
Yeah, actually, one red flag is her confidence to put on the glasses as if she's fancying and she's still injured.
People forget that we have something called image forensics that we can run on these computers. So huyu msichana, and actually let me watch aka hapo kidogo for free marketing. Now these are kind of nonsense that I would not tolerate on Vo TV. Ujinga musinilete. But and then comes the next question and the next statement I want to make. Lebanon ilifungwa kitambo sana, and you people are still going there. In 2025, we are not accepting any of these cases here. OG in the filter. So what they are doing is, for them to get my sympathy, don't try to come to Vo TV with this kind of ujinga.
Wow.
So just FYI. Now the problem is, when they come, someone like this ataribia watu wengi sana. Again, I repeat, there she is. That image is not real. That image is a filter. That's right, yes. They are still traveling and wataendelea could travel. So the same way, Nduta smuggled powder, the same way they'll keep on traveling. This has been a very, 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 very nice conversation and a very deep conversation.
Thank you so much.
Let's go back. Dido, I wanna, we have to look at this thing from a happy ending for Nduta or the other reality facing Nduta's case. Like I said, in 2018, a South African was arrested in Vietnam carrying 1.5 kilos of powder. Lee was sentenced to death. There was international intervention. South Africa is a more powerful country than Kenya, and still Lee was executed. Nduta had 2.2 kilos of unga. So what are the chances?
Yeah, it's painful to break this to you, Vu. Unless miracle happens, there is what we always call the law of precedence. The law of precedence is, usually when you go to court, they will refer you to previous similar cases. If today maybe I will be arrested on some things, they will quote the cases that has been processed in before, and they will use the law of precedence to prosecute me. But if something has never been done, it is what they call setting the precedence. Now you will be like starting that kind of a stuff. Like you will be the first person who has been prosecuted as in line to do with this. But now when you look at the law of precedence, they will check previous sentencing, and if there is a very strong precedences of the judges' comments and the judges and everything, they will just uphold it. And no matter how I love this to have a good ending, unless miracle happens, that was in 2018, now we are in 2025, maybe.
That's right.
But that's right. Unless some extraordinary strengths will be pulled, it will be very difficult for her to really make out of this, regarding that even Vietnam is a country that is really trying to pass a message to other citizens who are coming into the country that
That's
if
what
we are
they
going
say.
to let this go, it will be
Yeah.
a room for tolerance for others to do more
Others to
things,
come
knowing
through.
that,
That's right.
knowing
I
that
agree.
we will always be forgiven. So they will also have
I
something to
agree.
uphold. They will say, we want to set an example. So it's a very